and study with Tanzania Institute of Education.
Welcome, dear students, to our lovely subject, biology. My name is Madam Consolata, and we are going to learn about evolution. I want to remind you the definition of the word evolution, that evolution is the gradual development of an organism from simple form to more complex form over a long duration of time. Yes, gradual development of an organism from simple form to more complex form over a long duration of time. That is definition of evolution. After that, many people of those time decided to learn much about this evolution. Therefore, they decided to learn and start to do some research in order to understand the concept of evolution. They came up with theories of evolution. Therefore, today we are going to study the subtopic within evolution known as theories of evolution. Theories of evolution. Theories of evolution. The first biologist to learn about evolution was Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Lamarck studied about different organisms, their behavior, their characteristics, and changes from simple form to more complex form. And he came up with some postulates which formulate a certain theory known as use and disuse. The theory of use and disuse, postulated by a first researcher in evolution known as Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. In his use and disuse, what did he say? Follow me. Lamarck said that environment normally creates needs. Environment poses challenges to the organism within that compound. Therefore, Lamarck, in his study, said the needs of the environment may either be basic needs like food, shelter, mate, water. Any scarcity of these basic needs create a problem, create a challenge. Therefore, organism within that community has to struggle, has to suffer, and find the best way to adapt to the new changes. Therefore, Lamarck studied about the evolution of the new generation of giraffe. He said, the ancestor giraffe had short necks. Ancestor giraffe had short necks. What is the meaning of the word ancestor? Ancestor means the first organism to be evolved in this world. Yes, the original organism, yes. The original organism, the first organism to evolve in this world is called the ancestor. He said, the ancestor of the today's giraffe were all short-necked. They had short neck and they used to feed on grasses, used to feed on shrubs and short trees. They went with the habit of feeding on those shrubs and trees. Finally, they finished the vegetation. That was the challenge, scarcity of food. Now, it was new to them. The environment has already created the need. The need here is how to get the food. All short grasses has finished. All trees, short trees has finished. Shrubs also has finished. Giraffes now were supposed to stretch up their necks so that they can reach the leaves from the tall tree. They were supposed to stretch the muscles of their necks, to stretch their legs, the four limbs, so that they can help to support the neck to reach the highest leaves. Some giraffes succeeded. They pursue the higher leaves from the long trees. Some giraffes failed to stretch their necks. You know what happened? Those who failed to stretch their necks, they passed away. They starved and finally they died. But those who succeeded, the successors giraffe, continue to live in the environment, enjoy the life of feeding the leaves from the higher trees, and they generate the generation of themselves of giraffes with long neck. They use to reproduce and give young ones with the characteristics of long neck. Therefore, the whole generation of short-necked giraffe passed. That is how the giraffes evolved from the short-necked giraffe to long-necked giraffe. Therefore, from that point, Lamarck insists that if an organism has acquired some characteristics due to environmental challenges, he has the ability of pass that acquired characteristics to the generation. And he said that the young species inherit some characteristics from their parents. Those physical characteristics which these young species inherit from their parents are the ones which their parents also has acquired from the environment. Yes, one can develop a long neck and produce the young ones with a long neck, and the generation of short necks will be passed their way. Thereafter, those who failed to stretch their necks, as said, they were passed away. Means, if someone failed to use one of his body part, failed to use one of their body organs, that part will perish. That part will diminish and finally perish. So the disuse of some body parts may lead to that part to be disappeared from the body. Yes, it means if someone will not continually use his ear, maybe this ear, after some time, the ear may perish. Yes, that was Lamarck. He said so, that if you are not using one of your body part constantly, that body part will perish. But if you will use it more and more, the body part will regenerate and become more strong. From that point, the organisms now may generate a new generation of those characteristics. Let me ask you a question. Tell me if Lamarck was true. Tell me if the assumptions of acquired characteristics, the assumption of inheritance of acquired characteristics is still applicable today. To some extent, the first assumption of this man can be applicable, the assumption of acquired characteristics. The assumption of acquired characteristics. Due to environmental challenges, one can acquire some characteristics. Taking an example, the wrestling man, John Cena, I'm sure you know the guy. He has huge muscles. Those muscles were not inborn. Muscles gained to him through exercising. He did a lot of exercising, weightlifting, until the muscles generated and came up with a masculinity guy. That body helped him to do best in his exercise, to do best in wrestling. That is why he's always a winner, because he's tough enough. His muscles are too enough to fight. But does that guarantee him to have children who are masculine like him? The answer is no, because acquired characteristics change the physical appearance of an organism has nothing to do with the changes of the DNA of an organism, has nothing to do with the genes of our body, especially within our gamete. If something does not affect the DNA of our gametes, that part cannot be heritable. It will remain only to the person who has stretched, remain to the person who has those characteristics which his or she has acquired from the environment. The disuse of some body parts that may make those parts to disappear, it is also a questionable thing. Because me and you, we have appendix in our body. Appendix, it is found in the digestive system, but it has nothing to do with digestion. That is why it is there. And till today, we have our appendixes. They did not disappear, but they remain there as a vestigial structure. Remain as a vestigial structure. They didn't disappear, though they don't have anything to do in digestion. Now, from this point, you can explain this question at your own time. Yes, take your pen, exercise book, write this question based on Lamarck's theory. Explain the development of webbed feet in dark. Write the question. Take the question to your teacher. Then your teacher will mark for you. I'm sure you'll get it right. That is the end of the Lamarck's theory. The theory of use and disuse. The theory of inheritance of acquired characteristic. Now, let's see the second theory of evolution as proposed by biologist known as Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin did a little study for 5 years. He made a journey rotating the world at least some parts, and he collected some specimens, plants and animals. In his journey, he also studied about the population of different species in the world. He observed several characteristics of different organisms, and he came up with some assumptions to support his theory of natural selection. Darwin is the father of natural selection. The theory of Darwin was the theory of natural selection. He said that in his research, he observed there is overproduction of different species of organisms. There is overproduction of different species of organisms. He saw the overproduction of dogs. They had a lot of puppies. If it was a cow, a lot of calves. Human being, several children. But he wondered, these organisms, why are they producing much and gave chance of a lot of children? What was the cause of the huge enlargement of rate of reproduction? He decided to make a follow-up on the growth of those organisms. He then postulated the second assumption. He said, apart from having of reproduction of different species of organisms, but the population remain fairly constant. The number of all the organisms remain constant from year to year. He asked himself, what makes the number of organisms in a population to remain constant? He went furthermore and look on what make those organisms, though they were overproduced, why constant? He came with another assumption of struggling for existence. He said, those produced organisms, as they are so many, but the environment remains the same, those organisms now start to fight for their life, because sometimes food may become scarce, water availability may be problem, even mate, a chance for mating also may be problem. That create competition. There were competition among produced organisms, fighting for the chance of getting food, chance of getting water, chance of mate, chance of getting shelter. Therefore, this scarcity of some materials which led into struggling, this Charles Darwin said there is a struggling for existence. He postulated the fourth assumption and said the produced organisms in the first assumption are varying. There is variation among offspring, variation among produced puppies, variation among produced children, variation among produced calves. Yes, the variation brought about the winners in a competition because some produced offspring had a superior characteristics, others had weak characteristics. The superior ones were the ones who succeeded, passed the examination of competing, passed the competition and start to grow and get those food, get water and shelter in a simple way because they have an advantageous characteristics. The advantageous characteristic which is shown into different organisms make those organisms to look different. Those with advantageous characteristics succeeded and produced more and more. The production of those advantageous characteristics lead into selection. Now he had another assumption of selection. Selection of what? Selection of those organisms who were fit. The survival of the fittest led into selection of organisms who are more good. The organisms who are better adapters to the environment. Remember, those who failed to adapt, those with disadvantageous characteristics, those who were weak, passed away. Therefore, when these strong organisms, when these superior organisms allowed to reproduce, they produce the organisms of their own kind because the fitness characteristics, it was within the organism, it was genetically. It was easy for it to be transmitted from one generation to another generation. Though he didn't mention the word genetics in his assumption, but he said that the organisms who are fit produce the other organism who are fit. That's why he said like produce like. But he wasn't aware with the genetics, but he knows that there is a chance of a strong organism to produce strong organism. That is why he said the like produce like. In his explanation, Darwin was more good than the previous scientist, the previous biologist Lamarck, because Darwin was in a position of explain how environment can affect the population and lead into formation of new species. He was not completely aware of genetics, but he was in a position of explaining about the fitness of organism. The fitness of organism and the transportation, the inheritance of those fitness characteristics from their parents. So this man explained the evolution in a more scientific way than Lamech. Yes, because even today, we have some competitions in life. We have some competition in some challenges of life. But the organisms with the advantageous characteristics, the inborn advantageous characteristics, are the ones who succeeded and take over the chance of survive, take over the chance of grow, take over the chance of reproduce more organisms of their own kind. That is why Charles Darwin did a good research and has a soundable theory which sounds more good than that of Darwin, than that of Lamech. Though Lamech paved a way on how people can study much about the theories of organic evolution. I want you now to take your paper, your exercise book, and write again the following questions.
Elimu ni kazi, learn, let's study, be educated. Elimu ni kazi. Elimu ni kazi, learn, let's study, be educated. Elimu ni kazi. Elimu ni kazi, learn, let's study, be educated. Elimu ni kazi. Elimu ni Elimu ni kazi, learn, let's study.
Take your time, copy those questions, read your biology books, mix up with these notes, then answer those questions. Take them to your teacher. He will mark or she will mark them for you. I'm sure you'll get all questions right. Till another time, I wish you a good day. Bye.
Elimu ni kazi, learn, let's study, be educated.